Trump launches nasty rant at fraud trial judge. Crazed in his hatred of me. #verifyErrors. Message. Verify errors. Verify errors. Something went wrong. Please try again later. Verify errors. Donald Trump lashed out yet again against the judge in his civil fraud trial on his Truth Social platform on Saturday. It comes a day after Judge Arthur Engoron ruled from the bench that the former president's oldest daughter Ivanka Trump must testify in the trial that stems from a blockbuster lawsuit targeting her father, adult brothers and the Trump's business empire. After hearing arguments from Mr. Trump's attorneys and counsel from the Office of New York Attorney General Letitia James on the motion on the 27th of October, the judge made the ruling, finding that she still conducts business and owns property in the state and has failed to show any evidence disputing that. Time equals 400 Ms. greater than the former president, who is not obligated to attend the trial, which could last up until the weekend before Christmas, has sat with his attorneys at the defense table for several days of hearings. Steps outside the courtroom, he has repeatedly railed against the case. New York Attorney General Letitia James, the judge and the chief clerk who sits beside him, comments that drew a gag order blocking all parties from speaking out about the court staff, which Mr. Trump violated twice within 1 week. He was at it again on Saturday with a post on Truth Social, where he called the judge a Trump-hating, unhinged judge, who ruled me guilty before this witch hunt trial even started, couldn't care less about the fact that he was overturned. I also won on appeal on statute of limitations, but he refuses to accept their decision, he continued. I truly believe he is crazy, but certainly, at a minimum, crazed in his hatred of me. This case should have never started, but now must be dismissed. Financial statements were low, not high, had a 100% disclaimer clause, banks were fully paid, on time, on schedule, with never even a minor default, there was no victim, except me. Any other judge in the country would have thrown this case out on day one. He's an out-of-control, nut job, who fined me $10,000 over a ridiculous gag order so that the publicity for the day would take over from the fact that racist James and the judge's star witness admitted lying to Congress on the stand. Case over. In a court filing on the 26th of October, New York Attorney General Letitia James argued that Ms. Trump remains financially and professionally intertwined with the Trump Organization and can be called as a person still under their control. Ms. Trump, who was dropped from the lawsuit earlier this year, recently tried to quash a subpoena for her testimony in the case, noting that she is no longer a defendant and no longer lives in the state. She formerly lived at Trump Park Avenue. Her address at Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue was consistently used by Ms. Trump for transacting business through 3 separate entities, under or partially under her control, according to the 12-page filing. During a hearing before the trial resumed in New York Supreme Court in Lower Manhattan on Friday, the judge asked Ms. Trump's attorney Bennett Moskowitz whether she submitted a sworn statement about her allegedly severed ties in New York. He offered to submit one. Ms. Trump can appeal the judge's decision. She will not be ordered to testify until at least the 1st of November to give her attorneys time. The trial, now in its 4th week, follows a $250 million lawsuit from Ms. James, who alleged Mr. Trump, his adult sons and chief associates fraudulently inflated his wealth and assets over a decade to obtain favorable financial benefits to support his business empire. Judge Engoron already has determined that a trial is not necessary to prove the claims of fraud outlined across more than 200 pages. In Ms. James's complaint filed last year, this week, Mr. Trump heard testimony from his former attorney Michael Cohen, who testified that he was tasked by Mr. Trump to increase the total assets based upon a number that he arbitrarily elected for his statements of financial condition, the documents at the center of the case. Time equals 400 Ms. greater than Cohen and convicted former Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisselberg were instructed to reverse engineer the various different asset classes, increase those assets, in order to achieve the number that Mr. Trump had tasked us with, Cohen said, asked by counsel for the Attorney General's office. What that number was, Cohen replied, whatever number Mr. Trump told us to, but under hours of combative cross-examination from Mr. Trump's attorneys, Cohen agreed that his former boss never asked him to inflate the figures at the center of the case. He said Mr. Trump's commands were implicit rather than explicit. Time equals 400 Ms. greater than Donald Trump speaks like a mob boss, Cohen testified. He tells you what he wants without specifically telling you. That's what I was referring to. Mr. Trump has used the substantial press coverage at the courthouse on Center Street to cast himself as a victim of political prosecution. Statements he has amplified across his social media platforms and in fundraising messages to supporters as he seeks the 2024 Republican nomination for president. Judge Engoron's partial summary judgment ordered the dissolution of Mr. Trump's business licenses in the state, but an appeals court decision has blocked those sanctions as the trial continues and Mr. Trump's attorneys launch their appeal.